Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's a bit of Leeds United chatter on this Sunday afternoon after what was a very, very good Friday night for Leeds United. And isn't it nice to while away the rest of the weekend knowing that Leeds United bagged 3 points on Friday night against their Yorkshire rivals, Sheffield United. I'm Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever to discuss all this is Jason Booker. Guys, get your comments in, like the video, all the usual stuff there. Well, Jason, I mean, it was a completely convincing performance. You know what? It was one of those games that that's when I love football. I know it sounds obvious when you've won and played well, but it was just nice. It was just a good game to watch. It was competitive, but we were clearly the better team. We won the game. It was a really key game, you know, and I was kind of really worried about it before, and because of the international break stuff and players being out and whatnot, but it just turned to be an absolute dream of a night, really, Jace. I mean, we couldn't have asked for any more, could we, really? I mean, it was just spot on. And yeah, I've just been on a high from it for the last couple of days. Like, I've seen the highlights so many times, and it's just that whole thing, isn't it? Everyone's kind of riding the crest of a wave then when you have a performance and a result like that. And we needed it, didn't we, Jason? Because I mean, it's not like there was pressure building or anything like that, but, we should have beaten Sunderland that other game. We should have beaten Burnley, results like that. And you just start to think, are we going to get those key results? Are we going to be able to get this thing over the line? How many times is kind of bad luck going to hit us? But we just did it. It just worked for us. And yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with that, Jason. We will get into the performance more, but kind of what were your overarching thoughts with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that game before. I think we've seen it this season on a fairly regular basis. And I think game by game, we start to look more well-oiled, more structured, more in control. And we made Sheff United look like a pretty ordinary championship team, which they're probably not by the standard of the league. I would say that they're probably a top six side quite comfortably. Certainly the starting 11. I think Daniel Farke deserves his props. I think he completely and utterly got Wilder's number at the weekend. I think Wilder way overthought it. I thought he started the game really negatively with the system that he put out there. From moment one, it would pretty much lump it to Kiefer Moore and see if they could get a flick on. Taking Raksaki out the side. The second I saw him on the bench, I was like, nice, okay, good. And now I fully expected them to sit in with two banks, and they didn't really do that. They kind of just sat defensively and didn't do anything. I was quite disappointed with Sheff United overall, really, from an attacking point of view, especially. I thought defensively, I know Lewis said in the group that they kind of accomplished what they wanted to in the first half. I didn't really agree with that. They only did that because we were a bit wasteful. If Nontos takes the chance, if Aronson takes two chances that come to him, we're 3-0 up at half time. And again, we've been there before with that, and we just need to be a bit more clinical. But, in the second half, we did what we needed to do. And like I say, it was pretty comfortable. We made them look like a Stoke or a Blackburn or whoever else kind of mid-table team coming to the Championship, which before the game, I fully expected them not to be like that. I thought they'd give us a real test. But yeah, we've seen these performances building, and, we're looking really, really good stead, mate. And I still don't think we're out second gear, really, maybe just into third gear. There were a lot to like about what we did at the weekend. Some of the partnerships and the build-up that we saw was really nice. Individual performances, the fluidity in the build-up looked nice, looked a lot better than last season again. And I would argue, the argument around whether this league is stronger than last season or not. Sheff United are a direct replacement for Southampton for me, and they are miles behind Southampton. And, we don't have a Leicester. So that's where we're left now going into this rest of the season. And the run of games that we've got coming forward will really show where this team's at. And I think, we need to be looking at having 5 wins out of the next 6. That's a position that we're now in, because, we find ourselves, I have not looked at the league table after the 3:00 kickoffs yesterday, but when we beat Sheff United, we were joint top. And that's having played 6 of the top 7. And we played for Watford on Tuesday, who got spanked by Luton. So yeah, I think we're in a really, really good position, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, watching Sheffield United, I mean, it was like, I've not watched much of Sheffield United at all this season, but for me, it just looked like I don't know, kind of football you saw kind of 30 years ago versus a modern kind of team with patterns of play and everything. I mean, their tactic was literally, like you say, lump it up to keep them more and hope for the best. And there were a couple of times early on where I thought, oh, this might work.
One flick on, didn't it?
Where Stroik just didn't, where Stroik kind of just didn't take command at all. He thought, oh, God, if they get a few of them, that could cause a real issue. But I mean, it was kind of stamped out pretty quickly, and the defense kind of dealt with everything kind of from there on in. And I when you compare to, like you say, when we played Southampton last year and even Ipswich, Leicester, I mean, they look miles ahead of what Sheffield United brought. And, I think you're right. I think he did overthink it, bringing Shackleton in and changing the formation. I know a lot of their fans are kind of scratching their head at why he did that. However, you got to say that, look, Wilder knew what he was coming up against. I mean, he's lavished praise on Leeds United since the game. No excuses really. Just said, look, Leeds were miles better than us, best team in the league, and it's hard to argue, isn't it, when you get that kind of performance? I mean, it was kind of overwhelming. I mean, it made me laugh actually because Sheffield United had about 3 minutes going their way in the second half, and the commentators were like, dominated.
One attack, like
inches. And you see the chance where he said, it's inches, and you looked at it's 5 feet wide of the post. What are you talking? I mean, for me, it was just that. Just purely from the commentary, it was like they were just waiting for Sheffield United to score or get an advantage over us, but it didn't happen. I mean, Leeds were just so dominant. I mean, it was and I texted a few friends and everything. I was like, I think this is better. I've said it before this season. I think this is better than last season. I mean, there was a period in the first half where we're pinging it around. Tanaka, Rothwell, Ramazani's getting involved. I mean, and they couldn't touch us. They absolutely couldn't get near the ball, and it looked like we were 3 divisions above them. I mean, it was absolutely crazy.
Just to
sorry, mate. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I can hear myself. Got echo.
Have you got an echo? I can't hear anything on here. No,
it's coming through you.
Oh,
it's gone now. It's gone now. That's so weird. Anyway, going into the game, I really thought that if they were going to get the better of us, it would be the midfield battle. When you look at Hamer, you look at Sousa, who I really like as a big ramrod kind of battering centre defensive midfielder. He's a quality operator. Gus Hamer in there, Callum O'Hare, Ollie Arblaster. And then you look at the fact that we're down to our kind of, 4th choice centre midfield pairing. I thought, they're going to have a hard time tonight at Tanaka and Rothwell. Mate, they were unbelievable. I mean, they made them look silly. And, Joe Rothwell, I got to say, just sorry, I was not aware of your game. I thought you were coming to be a squad player in this team and you'd be lucky to get a few minutes. And I know Chris kind of scoffed at us, didn't he? And he was saying, no, you can't win the division with a Rothwell. I'd argue he could be top 5 championship centre midfielder. He's sensational. His reading of the game, his dictating of the play, his skill on the ball, the way that he uses his body, his passing, his distribution. He was sensational the other night. Could easily have been man of the match himself. It was only kind of beaten to it by his partner, Tanaka, who, I told you so. Like this guy, he goes under the radar because he came in at 3.5 million. He's a Premier League midfielder, mate. He's a Premier League midfielder. He is unreal. He got beaten to the man of the match, I think, did Rothwell, because Tanaka were a little bit more tenacious. Considering the fact that he just played for Japan 2 days before, flown back the night before, not trained, and then jumped straight into that game. He was everywhere. Every blade of grass. It was like an N'Golo Kante. That's what it was like. He was just everywhere. And that's where the game was really won. The midfield battle there and the blitzed it. They were unbelievable.
I basically want to repeat everything you've said because I absolutely 100% agree. Joe Rothwell in particular, I absolutely the same as you. When we signed him, it was like, okay, let's see what other business we do. Not played much at Southampton last year. And it was a bit of let's be honest, it was a myth signing. It was like, it's a loan signing, it's squad player. I absolutely agree. I thought he'd only get minutes here and there. Watching him on Friday night, that was a special performance. Like there was parts to that game where I thought I'm watching one of some of the best football I've seen from a Leeds central midfielder for years. I mean, his passing, his movement. Do you know what I love about Rothwell? How clever he is. He's one of those players he just makes the right decision, and you can see that he's thinking, and he knows. He gets it. He just absolutely gets it. It's like when you watch Dakar all those years ago, and players of that ilk. I mean, I ran my dad yesterday. He didn't get to see the game. I spent 20 minutes just talking about Rothwell. I was like, if you'd have seen this guy, it was like watching Billy Bremner or something. Do you know what I mean? It was like, he was he was brilliant. Good. He was so good. And Tanaka, like you say, how on earth this guy has flown under the radar and been stolen for $3 million.
Don't get it.
I'm absolutely gobsmacked, and I just think, that level of recruitment is just unreal. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And there's actually, the issue now, one of the kind of conundrums is, what do you do when Gruev won't be for this season, but Ampadu, when he comes back, am I at a stage here where I'm literally saying I don't think Ampadu gets back into central midfield? Because I'm watching that the other night and I'm thinking that's everything I want from a midfield.
Yeah.
And
it's early days. It's early days. That is one thing I will say. And I think, at the end of the day, we are going to be so much better than most of this division that we're giving away a little bit of defensive solidity to then have a bit more creativity with the two that we've got at the moment. So there'll be horses for courses where it might be safer to go with Ampadu over one of them. But right now, because Tanaka is actually so good at being able to do that 6 role as well, he's actually better than Ampadu when he's going forward, when he's going the other way. So against the lower opposition who have got less attacking kind of capabilities, you can get away with having a little bit less defensively, because I'd argue Ampadu is just a bit better than Tanaka defensively. It looks better. So when that comes round to it being a problem, it'll be really interesting to see what he does, because I'm sure that Farke will be desperate to get Ampadu back in. He's his captain, he's his man, he's arguably his best player. But right now in that area of the pitch, they're just so good. They're going to become undroppable. So this is why you have such a problem recruiting another midfielder, because when they come back, not only are they not going to get in front of the two that are already in, you're not going to then be able to get back in front of Ampadu and Gruev when they come back as well. So you're just going to be so far down the pecking order.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting, because let's be honest, we kind of stumbled on this by accident, this midfield
absolutely.
In terms of but I think, is the room with the quality difference we've got over most teams where you can afford to kind of maybe have a little bit more attacking incentive, and Gruev and Ampadu feels very defensive. Although I would say I still thought the performances early in the season were very good. I don't want to take anything away. I actually thought Gruev was playing really well before he got injured. But I just feel like with them two in particular, it's something else. And I think you're right. I think he's going to want Ampadu back in there because he is his captain and he's kind of a bit of he's a leader, he's a figurehead of this team. But it's a real conundrum because, if we start racking up the wins and if these two are playing like this week in, week out, it's going to be very hard to break that up, and
it is.
You might be ill-advised doing so.
The thing is as well, Brandon, we don't even lose that much defensively. We lose a bit, but we don't lose loads because Tanaka's fantastic defensively too. Yeah. And I've been really surprised by Rothwell's tenaciousness to kind of get back. He's constantly nicking in and winning possession back. He's very, very clever with it. He's not a big, hard tackler, but he reads the game so well that he nicks in and wins the possession back. So when you're then getting so much more going the other way, they're both capable of clipping balls into areas of the pitch that Gruev and Ampadu just aren't. So it's a real tricky one. And you're absolutely right about it being lucky because there's no way that we would have come to this starting centre midfielder partnership unless there were injuries to Gruev and Ampadu, because you would have had, if Ampadu would have got injured, Gruev would have replaced him. And if Ampadu would have got injured, Gruev got injured, Ampadu would have replaced him. And then it'd have been one of the others. It wouldn't have been both. So yeah, no, it's super interesting.
Well, I think you make such a good point there as well. Like, you trust them on the ball always. Like, those little balls you're talking about, clip round, you just know it's going to be right.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's an amazing confidence to have in the team.
Especially with Gruev, you don't like, and that's not discrediting him as a player, because I like what he does do. But as a midfielder, he's not the kind of midfielder that's going to clip the ball into them tight spaces. Whereas Tanaka, especially, Rothwell's better when he's got a bit more time to kind of arc a pass. But Tanaka he's constantly clipping. He's scanning. If you watch him when he's not on the ball, he's scanning around him all the time. He knows exactly what's going on behind him. It's just a joy to watch. I love midfielders. I love watching midfielders that are smart like that.
Well, I mean, we thought what we're going to be missing when Kamara went, and that was one of my things. It kind of slipped under it. I thought, God, we might really miss someone who, of that. But I mean, he wouldn't have been anywhere near it, would he? Ahead of these two. I mean, these two just look on a different level to him. To be perfect,
we sold Kamara for 9 million and bought Tanaka for 3. It's 3.5, and it's a massive upgrade, isn't it? Massive. Yeah. And I liked Kamara. I did like what he did, but you can see why we wanted Tanaka before him. Tanaka probably would have come in if he'd have not got the injury that he got last summer, and Kamara would have probably never been a Leeds United player. So, it's super interesting one, mate, and I'll love to see it. Like, it's good to have that depth.
Absolutely. I want to mention Bogle as well at right back. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I thought he was really kind of backward and forward. I just thought he was at it all game. I feel like he's really kind of coming in.
Settled in, I know.
He's settled in a bit. Obviously, had a few kind of shaky moments early on, but again, it's a dynamic that we just didn't have to the team last year, where your fullback is in their penalty box or right down at, I mean, I think him and Firpo, sometimes the delivery is a little bit predictable. Sometimes it's bouncing off the first man's legs, and we see a little bit of that, but that's fine. I just think it's another threat that we've not seen last year, and it's great to see him settle in and start putting in really good performances.
I think what he's given us going forward has been like invaluable. We didn't have it at all last season from Archie, just because he just wasn't natural in that position, and his pace was a little bit questionable at times. But what Bogle's really done well of recent, the last 3 or 4 games, is step up his defensive work. Defensively, he's not looked as shaky as what he did early on. And then I think that's elevated Rodon's game, and Rodon's game's got better, which has elevated Bogle's game, and that partnership has started to work better as well. But I'm super happy with what we've had from Jayden on that side, and like I said, the attacking intent that it gives us so much outlet.
How many times was he kind of unmarked right on that right wing, and you could just knock the ball through, and it's like, away you go.
No, it's been excellent, mate. Been excellent, and he's got a good partnership with whoever's in front of him. A combination of Nonto, Ramazani, and Brendan. They all kind of mix well. It's very fluid, and it's far more balanced than what it was last season. You can argue that the individual quality of this team is a little bit less than last season, taking out Somerville, Rutter, and Archie Gray. But in terms of the balance that the whole squad gets and the way that it actually then displays when you're watching it, it's actually better than last year. It's so much more fun to watch, much more attractive, and it's actually so much more efficient. We create so much more better chances than we did last season. So, and maybe that's why Pirro's having a bit better time of it. I made the point, and I know we're kind of skipping through different things here, but I made the point to you the other day that the only way that Pirro should start this game is if Brendan Aronson's in behind him. And I'm glad that was the case, because when Brendan's there, he'll do the pressing that Pirro can't do as the number 9. He just does it all for him. It just acts as 2 players, which then gives Pirro the joy of a bit more space and a bit more time when he does get on the ball. I thought Pirro had a very good game. I thought he linked play up quite nicely. The pass to Joseph was brilliant. I had no qualms with anything that he did all game. I thought he was picking up the right areas, just didn't fall to him in the right moments. The interplay that was going on around him was all working nicely, but that happens because Brendan's there. It won't happen if you have then another 10 in that place. So they're all vital, but again, it's the balance that they all create for one another. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes that is essential. You know what I mean? It's essential if one cog doesn't quite fit the other one, then sometimes they both have to come out. So yeah, I thought it looked really good the other day, mate. Really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to some of your comments here then. Tom, thank you, mate. I think the team overall after the first 10 minutes played really well. Thought Peru had a great game. Gavin, will Ampadu be happy to spend the rest of the season on the bench? Lewis as well from the show as well. Is there an argument for Ampadu to go into the defence when he returns? Well, no, I mean, I can't see that happening unless there's kind of injuries that happen. But it will be interesting because he is captain and a lot rests on him. But I think unless there's an actual strike or Rodon, and then it depends where Verber's going to be at. I think them three are kind of the three kind of first choice, and then Ampadu's that kind of next one that you would go to. But I mean, likely over the course of the season there is going to be an injury to the centre back. And he played it fantastically well. Him and Rodon were brilliant last season as that centre back pairing. So that is good to actually have that kind of flexibility, actually, isn't it? To say, well, if we get caught out there, we can drop him in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, that's what squad's for, isn't it? Right now, the squad depth is being tested. It's been stretched a little bit. And thankfully, at the moment, the performances are not suffering as a consequence because of the quality. But when Ampadu does come back, he probably will have to ride bench for a bit. Like, there definitely needs to be enough, I forget the word now.
Competition?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, the performances from the midfield at the moment are saying you cannot drop them.
Yeah.
And unless that changes, you then don't change it. It's as simple as that. It's not just I'm the captain or I'm the best player, so I get in. Same goes for Solomon. I made the point that Solomon is our best player. Now, fully fit, I think that would be the case, but that doesn't just guarantee him a spot in this team because Ramazani and Nonto have been absolutely fantastic since he's been injured. Same for Dan James. Same for Mateo Joseph. There needs to be that element of, this is my position until I show you otherwise. Same goes for the whole squad. I don't think anybody should be undroppable, including Elan Meslier, including Pascal Stroik, who some will just say, needs to play every week in, week out. I don't think that's the case. But right now, you cannot grumble with any of the starting 11 playing. Now, I would like to see a little bit of rotation should the game be right, because I think there'll be games that suit Joseph more than Pirro. I think there'll be certain games that suit whoever over whoever. But I think for now, you cannot break up a winning formula. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So whether Ampadu comes back next week or in another 2 months, right now it's working perfectly well. We should be staying exactly as we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Gavin says here, if only Aronson had some composure. I think probably if there was maybe 1 or 2 points of criticism from Friday, or it wasn't quite as glowing as the rest of it. I thought Aronson's on the ball work was not all that, to be honest, on Friday. I felt he kind of took himself down kind of avenues, sometimes dribbling it and kind of ended up losing the ball or that kind of thing. I mean, it's difficult because, again, he was away.
I think you need to give him a little bit of a cut him some slack for this one.
Because I totally agree.
He'd have had heavy legs, wouldn't he? And, he would have been tired. He played a lot of game time. Tanaka only played 1 game. Aronson played full 90 in both. I believe he certainly played full 90 in the second. Literally got back. I think it was 10:30 Thursday night he got back, or something daft like that. It's ridiculous. And then he was straight to back into the side. And sometimes certain players like Aronson can be wasteful on the ball at times. That goes without saying. But I still think he's one of the real key ingredients to being able to unlock defenses. You go and have a look at some of the, not even goals that we've scored, but the assists that have not led to a goal, that should have maybe even led to a goal. Yeah. They've all been coming through Brendan picking them half passes through the lines. And his off the ball work is so underappreciated because you don't always see what it does. Even if it's just putting pressure on the ball so it goes out for a throw-in. Yeah, that recycles the ball back into our possession, but you just see Leeds United win a throw-in. You don't think about the bigger picture of it. So I'm totally okay with him missing the odd chance. I wish he didn't, of course, but he's a championship player. He's going to miss chances, So, yeah, I think he's in fact, I honestly think he's absolutely essential to the side. Absolutely essential at that 10 position, especially if we're playing Pirro.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's actually, given Pirot a new lease of life, hasn't it?
Yeah,
really, because I mean, he looked kind of gone.
He
Really.
looked a bit like he was going to be bench only, didn't he?
Yeah, if we'd have sold him in the summer, I don't think anyone would have had any qualms. To be perfectly honest, but it's giving him a new lease of life, and I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes those partnerships, if one can't play well, then neither can play because it just isn't going to work for the system. I mean, Ramazani, moving on to him, I mean, another electric performance. I mean, he's just one of them. You just look at him and he's just got it, hasn't he? He's just, I mean, some of the skills and that low centre of gravity, I mean, it's just a nightmare to play against. I mean, I was just like, I wanted us to get the ball to him more that second half. I was like, just get it to him and just let him have a go at him. I mean, he's just lightning quick. He's got skill, and he can finish as well. I mean, that he had a great chance first half that he kind of carved out. And another terrific performance. I mean, I think again, he's another one you can't really drop, can you? Now that James and Solomon are back, you've got it. I mean, I think he's got the place, hasn't he? Really,
100%. For me, he's got some serious potential. Serious potential. Can see why we're linked with Premier League moves only 18 months ago. His ability to be able to shift the ball onto both feet. He looks so naturally gifted with both feet. Like when he strikes the ball with his left foot, I'm like, you're left-footed, mate, but he's not. He's right-footed. And the other day, he was actually taking the piss at times. He were, knocking ball over people's heads. He was taking people on. He's like a hybrid between Somerville and Rutter. That's what he reminds me of. He's got the trickery and skill of Rutter and the directness and kind of cockiness of Somerville. Like he's brilliant. And I don't get ahead of myself. It is big time getting ahead of myself, but he could actually be better than Somerville. He actually could be better than Somerville. I don't think he's better than Somerville now, but I think long term he actually could be. I think he's got more to his game than Somerville, whereas Somerville's a little bit one dimensional at times. He's excellent, mate. He is undroppable. He is. I think he's ahead of Nonto. And look, I've had my stuff to say about Nonto. Nonto's been brilliant this last few weeks. Last 3 or 4 games, he again has been brilliant, and all of them for me right now in that attacking lineup, other than Pirot and Joseph debate, the other 3 they're undroppable for me. I won't be touching any of them. Solomon and James need to earn their place back in the sides, but for me, Ramazani is the one that it feels like it's really going to happen through when the ball comes to his feet. Whereas sometimes Nonto's end product's a little bit hit and miss, but together. They're just brilliant, mate. Ramazani has got that kind of nice feeling where he'll lay the ball on if it's the right call. Whereas I don't always trust that, including Aronson. I don't always trust any of them to do that. Where Pirot will take the chance, Joseph will try and take the chance, Nonto will take the chance. Aronson
I get a bit frustrated with Nonto with that. Yeah, even on Friday night, a couple of times where he's release it.
Whereas Ramazani will always feel like he'll make the right call for the team. Defensively, his defensive work's brilliant. He's a bit of a dog. He's a bit of a rat in it, in the way that, like, I loved it when he just stuck one on Shin. I can't remember who it was, but he just kicked him as he went past. Didn't get a yellow card for it. I love it, and he gets loads of yellow cards. And seeing that in his time in Spain, I love him. I absolutely love him. I think he's sensational, mate. Yeah.
I had a feeling when we signed him. Yeah, I had a feeling though, like you just thought, that's going to work. That's absolutely. And when you see him play now, you're like, yes, absolutely.
It's smart recruitment from an angle of he knows the country. He obviously came up through the Charlton Academy, played for Manchester United. Like he's not a Belgian player that's been playing in Spain that has no idea of what it's like to play in England. So he's just great recruitment. He's just ridiculously good recruitment. Him and Tanaka's recruitment in the summer was brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. Again, though, we're in a situation where we're looking at the recruitment that we've made and we cannot grumble with a single one of them. Not a single one of them.
Absolutely. Even the loan, who we thought was just, a bit part and spectacular. I mean, Ramazani as well strikes me as one of them. If not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but if you look at the Premier League, probably one who could live in the Premier League. And I don't know how many that's going to apply to, and that's going to be a conversation for another day. We're going to get there first, but definitely seems that kind of ceiling, doesn't there? Yeah. What about the centre-back pairing then? Joe Rodon and Struijk. Obviously, this is the partnership that started the season. I know probably with Struijk in particular, we're probably slightly against the kind of general consensus of Leeds fans. I think we probably still are not 100% convinced by him. Great goal, I've got to say, fantastic from the corner. Rodon, I mean, we said it in the group, but I think looking back, it was probably a bit harsh. I think he is kind of getting back up to that level.
The last 2 games have been brilliant.
Yeah, and it feels like his confidence is back, doesn't it? But I mean, them as a pairing and individually, I mean, clean sheet again.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that kind of situation?
I don't like people think that I don't like Pascal Struijk. Like, it's not that I don't like him. I just don't think he's as good as what some people make out he is. And people want to make out like he's this sensational ball playing centre back. He's not. He plays 5-yard passes, and anything over 10 yards, it's hit and miss whether it even gets there. His distribution over mid to long range is really, really, really average. Like, and it's not just the percentages that show that. It's the fact that when the ball hits the player that he's passing it to, quite often it'll be underhit or overhit. So the pass will make it there, but it's a difficult one for the striker to then do anything with and we give the ball away. It's bigger than just what the statistics is. I just ask people to use their eyes. I think defensively, he's strong, he's quick, he's pretty good in the air. I don't like sometimes that he switches off. I think sometimes he can switch off.
He did the other night, didn't he? With that bit where he lost the ball and you're like, he knocked out for a corner as well, and you're like,
this is what I'm talking about. And he was kicking himself, but it's just that concentration in them vital moments. And people want to pretend like that doesn't happen because it doesn't end up in a goal. Now, that's not how I read the game. Like, I just analyse what I'm seeing, and it frustrates me. That doesn't mean I don't like him. It doesn't mean that I don't think he's got massive potential. And I think he's a very, very good Championship centre-back. I just don't think he's the best Championship centre-back. Some people want to tell me that he's better than Estevez at Burnley. Like, Estevez miles better. I mean, Admovic the other day for Sheff Utd didn't have a great game, but I would argue that he's probably in front of him as well. And that's no criticism. I just think he's got things that he can build on and grow on. But again, we have to deal with the facts and the pair of them, including the boys in front and, not so much Meslier, but the whole defensive line. They're still limiting these opposition, the best in the division in Sheffield United and Sunderland, as an example of the last 2 weeks, to very, very minimal opportunities. Sheffield United didn't make Meslier make a big save in the whole 90 minutes. So you have to then say, fair play to the defence, are doing something right. And I think there's a combination of the defence doing something right, and then the overall style of Leeds United and the way that we play. And it dictates the control of the game so much that most of the time the defence don't even have much to do either. So I think it's a balance, but I'm happy to see Rodon getting back to something like his best. I thought he was excellent against Sunderland for 95% of the game. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, you go and watch the highlight package that's put together on social media somewhere of Rodon against Sunderland. He was in front of everything. The problem with Rodon is I think he's a very dramatic last minute kind of defender. He throws himself in front of blocks and whatnot. Now, if he's off in that, because he plays like that, if he's off by half a second, it leads to a big chance for a goal. When it comes off, it looks spectacular. He's one of them kind of defenders, whereas Pascal's a little bit more of a Rolls Royce in that he will mop up all of the stuff and it doesn't need that moment, but he's not capable of that moment most of the time either. So they complement each other quite nicely. Left foot, right foot. I thought Rodon the other day against Sheffield United, his distribution was good. I thought he carried the ball out of the back really, really well. Earlier on in the season, we were putting the ball out for throw-ins all the time, shanking the ball out. I think that's improved. So yeah, I've got no problems with the defensive side at all. And I think Firpo and Bogle have been very good in their defensive duties too for most of the part. I thought Firpo was excellent the other night again, by the way. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think with Struijk as well. I mean, just having someone who's big in this team. Because I mean, Jesus Christ, when the corners, I was having a heart attack when you saw Nonto marking Suter. You're looking at it going, hang on, we've got about a foot less on average, like our players. So you need Struijk there, just if it's someone big, a big lump in there. Just someone who gives us some kind of height or physical presence. I thought Rodon looked back to his best. I think there still might be an opportunity for Verba if, the likelihood is Pascal's going to get an injury at some point in the season because he is injury prone a little bit, and he has times out of the squad. And if Verba can get back in, I see Verber as a kind of more solid kind of defender and kind of, all rounder. He can kind of do a bit of what Stroik does, but he's got the concentration. And I think if he gets up to that level of fitness and everything, I think him and Rodon could ultimately be the partnership potential. Because I'm not 100% convinced by Stroik. I mean, like I said on Friday night when the long balls were coming, I didn't trust him under it. I didn't trust him under those long balls. There were a couple of shaky moments, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't. I mean, if we do go up, I wouldn't have him as the Premier League centre back at all. I would not have him as a starting Premier League centre back. Not in a million years. Okay, let's have a look at some other comments here. Then, Tom, does Peru keep starting up top for us? For me, 100% until his form drop. Yeah, interesting one because obviously Joseph bagged a hat trick for the under-21s for Spain. Came on this game and took his goal really well, used his body, the run, really, really fantastic. And that's good for him. That's really good for him that he was able to come on and do that. But, Peru, I mean, I think you're right. I think as long as Aronson's there to kind of do that leg work. But, it's great that you've got Joseph there chomping at the bit. And I would delight to see him get that goal because that's where it's been lacking.
Took it really well as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, took it really well. Proper striker's goal, that. I agree. I can't believe I'm saying it really, but I would be starting Peru at the moment. Obviously, didn't score the other day. Didn't really have a chance that I can think of.
Partly, he smashed that one from outside. Box 15 miles over,
which were annoying. Which is annoying because he's good from them kind of areas. But I feel really comfortable with him at the moment, and I know that if he gets a chance in and around the box, he's likely going to take it. Whereas I haven't quite got that confidence with Joseph yet. However, scores the other day, maybe Tuesday after Pirro starting is the right time to throw him back in and he plays. That's a manager's issue to deal with. And I think either case, whoever starts on Tuesday, fair enough. I got no problem with either of them. I just trust Pirro when the ball comes to him in the box to always tuck him away. And if the game's 0-0, 85th minute or, in the key, not even 85th minute, it can be earlier on in the game when that one moment comes, you want Pirro on the end of it. So, it's a real interesting one. But I think either way, we've got, a good problem to have. And I think, we're finally now seeing the end of Patrick Bamford being any sort of reliance within the squad, which is good. It's about time. We're hearing more and more whispers that there's going to be an exit, either in the January window or at the end of the season. They're starting to pick up a lot of pace. There's a lot of talk about Bamford leaving. And it's the right time. It is the right time. At the end of the day, I don't blame him for staying unless he gets the contract somewhere else. Like he signed the contract with Leeds United. That's fair. But he should want to play. He should want one last kind of crack at playing regularly before he retires. And no axe to grind for me with Pat Bamford. No footballer ever wants an injury. But right now he's third choice and he should be. So, it's good. It's a good problem to have.
Exactly. And like Gavin makes a great point, not that one actually, the one above. We should rotate one or two due to number of games. And that's the flexibility I would like to see a little bit more of, because I think at times we kind of ran ourselves into the ground. I mean, I remember the QPR game, obviously, at the end of last season, and it was like we could have really done with freshening things up a little bit, and it didn't really happen. Easy makes a great point here. Rothwell is a new striker, and that's the highest compliment I give. You know what? That is exactly the kind of performance it was. That is exactly who it reminded me of, because I remember Strachan in his pomp, and it was absolutely fantastic. In terms of where that leaves us league table wise, then Jason, so we're currently third in the league at the moment. Sunderland are playing out against Hull, I think. Is that on at the moment? Is that happening at the moment?
It's 3 o'clock.
Late 3 o'clock, isn't it? Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But it's nice. We're slowly climbing that table on level points with Sheffield United now, and it's just kind of all stacking up nicely, isn't it, really?
It is.
So much healthier than where we were 12 months ago.
Yeah, it's ticking along really, really nicely. We should all be really, really happy with where we're at. Because like I said earlier on the stream, I think we've just clicked into third gear. I think we've got so many more gears to go through. We're starting to see more and more of what this team's capable of. Defensively, we're very assured. We're keeping clean sheets without us keeper even having to do anything, which is a good job. I know it's a good thing when Nilan don't have to make a save. We look fluid, more fluid than last season. We're getting goals from all over the pitch. You know, on Friday night, we win 2-0 comfortably against a rival, and we don't have as main striker for the game actually scoring. We get one from the bench, and we have one from a centre-back score from a corner, by the way, which is 222 since February since we scored, which is wild. You know, but not only that, we looked like we could score through Ramazani, Aronson, Nonto, all had chances. You know, Bogle gets on them, Firpo's getting goals. Like, a lot of people were worried where are the goals going to come from when Somerville leaves. Well, they're coming from everywhere. They're literally coming from everywhere. And I'd like to see one of the midfield boys get a couple, Tanaka and Rothwell over the coming weeks. That'd be nice. But while they're playing the way that they are and creating the moments that they are getting the assist before the assist. So the numbers don't always matter that much. While the play looks like it does, no problems for me. Yeah, buzzing, mate. I'm honestly absolutely delighted. I know that we could have a few more points on the board. Let's just say 2 against Portsmouth, 2 against Sunderland, and 1 against Burnley. You know, and that'd be very easy to have that extra 5. It would. But the facts are that's just not the way that football's played. After 10 games, we find ourselves comfortably in and around where we should be. And we're now going to a run of games where they're all really winnable. We've played a lot of the top teams in this division already. Sunderland, you know, Watford on Tuesday, Norwich, Sheff United, West Brom, you know, and a lot of these are out of the way now. We've got some really, really winnable games. So it'd be nice to put a run together and start stretching a bit of a gap. I'd like to see us now over the next 10 be 6 or 7 points clear. I really would.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Quick word on Wilder then, Jason. Obviously, post-match, completely held his hands up and said Leeds were just fine.
He couldn't not, though, could he?
No, and the best team in the league. And yeah, that was nice to see. Nice to hear.
Yeah. He couldn't not. I mean, the only way that he could kind of deal with that press conference was by being completely and utterly humble. There's nothing he could say. It was either slag his own team off or praise Leeds United. Because it weren't one of them games where the referee gave him something to give controversy about. They didn't have a good chance. They didn't have a big Ilan Melier save to say that changed the game. There was nothing. It was just total dominance after the 10th minute. They had a little flutter in the second half for maybe 2 minutes where they had a couple of attacks, but didn't create really anything. And Leeds dominated the rest of the game. And he's right. Like the way that the two teams played, we were head and shoulders above them. Head and shoulders above them. It wasn't really even that competitive, to be honest with you. The only thing that made it competitive was the fact that it was a derby and Sheffield United are a recently relegated team. If they'd have, Stoke could have come and given that exact performance, we'd have said it were a comfortable 2-0 Leeds United win. So, yeah, fair play to Wilder. He came out and said it, but I do think it was the only thing he could have done.
Yeah, agree. Watford then on Tuesday night, obviously a difficult game for them yesterday, losing 3-0 to Luton. We've had an extra day's rest, I guess you could call it as well. So, I mean, everything points to let's back that Sheffield United performance up with another 3 points. Yeah,
I'd almost say you have to win this game now. You know, on the back of the run and the win against Sheffield United, you can't then go and undo the hard work by then not winning this game at home. Watford have started the season well. They're an all right side. They've got some good players in that team, by the way. They have got some really, really good players. They've recruited really well in the summer. But this is a game that we have to win if we're going to win the league. You can't beat Sheffield United on a Friday night at home under the lights and then go and not win against Watford at home 4 days later, who have just coming off the back of a 3-0 drubbing. You just can't. So, yeah, it's a must-win, mate. And if we play anything like we did on Friday, we'll cruise through it.
Absolutely. Keep an eye on the channel. Myself and Jason will be back. I'll be on the Monday night show tomorrow, giving my 2 pennies worth on Leeds. Check out...
Make sure you say on that, just sorry to interrupt you mid-flow there, make sure you let Chris know just how well Joe Rothwell played. Okay, he don't get away with it. Yeah, you have to tell him.
With my pleasure, will that be? I tell you. Please do check the channel out as well. We've got Gazza's Bradford City review up from yesterday, and Downsy has been on the channel today. So check that review out for Huddersfield Town's win as well. Myself and Jason will be back. Thank you very much for watching, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.